Welcome back to FridAI, your beacon in the ever-evolving world of artificial intelligence. After a brief hiatus during the March break, we're back and better than ever. This week, Andrew Wall, Kasim Mukhtar, and the insightful Rachel Stedman dive into everything new with AI. This episode promises a captivating exploration of the latest AI advancements and the controversies that accompany rapid technological progress. Star is a deep dive. First, AI software engineer from Cognition. Crafted to supercharge human engineers' productivity, symbolizing a new era of collaboration between human intelligence and artificial prowess. Next, we venture into the future of storytelling with OpenAI's Sora, a pioneering text-to-video AI model that brings text prompts to life in 60-second videos. Slated for public release in 2024, Sora is set to redefine content creation, making the production of video content as simple as typing a sentence. However, progress isn't without its pitfalls. It's a timely discussion on navigating the fine line between innovation and ethical responsibility. Join Andrew, Kasim, and Rachel as they unravel these developments, sharing insights and forecasts on AI's trajectory. Whether you're deeply embedded in the AI sector, a tech enthusiast, or simply curious about the digital transformation unfolding around us, this episode is packed with enlightening content tailored for you. So tune in and embark on this journey with us through the latest in AI and its far-reaching implications for our future. Let's get the conversation started.
Woohoo! And welcome back, Rachel and Kasim. It's been a couple
Thank you.
we've been live, and a lot's taken place over the last 2 weeks as well. It's been a really interesting period, so much to talk about. So I don't know even where we begin. I guess, this AI software engineer that seems to be, all over social media right now. Kasim, you want to tell us a little bit about what this is and why it's such a big buzz amid all the amazing AI that's going on right now?
For sure. So, as someone who comes from an electrical engineering background myself, I really thought that this new AI bot that this company Cognition released, it's really cool. So, it's basically a software engineer, and they've named it Devin because every AI bot needs to have a name now, apparently. And so if I break it down into like very simple terms for the viewers, it's basically a custom GPT that you would find on ChatGPT, but it's outside that environment, and it's focused solely on software engineering, right? Which is pretty cool because what we had to do before, like if you had to code, if you had to write a code or program, you can do it through ChatGPT, right? You can build websites through it. You can essentially even like write code for small games for it or whatnot. Like you're limited by your imagination. But it was a very long and tedious process, which I've tried myself. Like you have to prompt it again and again to, get your smaller chunks of code generated. Then you have to put it all together, debug it all together with the number of prompts. And if you didn't really have a lot of basic software coding knowledge behind beforehand, then it's really difficult to do, right? But with Devin, the thing that I found was really cool is that you can essentially build entire websites. You can write full programs with just one prompt. Like you just give it one prompt, one message, and it will do everything for you. And it's really cool. It's really interesting. And what's more interesting about it is that our viewers might say, or you guys might say that, oh, it's just another GPT, and yes, it's good, but it's not really applicable in real life. It's just a toy. But lo and behold, they tested it out in the real world on this freelancing platform called Upwork. You guys might be aware of it.
Yeah.
And actually solved real world tasks. Like they got gigs, they got orders on Upwork, got Devin to do the programming software coding for it, and it worked. They made money off of it, which I thought was so cool and so interesting because it has the potential to completely change the landscape of how we deal with, these skills, how we deal with these people, and how we deal with software engineering in general. So I don't know what your guys' are thoughts on it. I think, Rachel, you maybe were talking something about the creator and founder of Devin. We
Yeah,
saw a video
yeah,
which went
yeah,
viral.
definitely. Definitely. So yeah, Scott is it's confirmed he's a boy genius. Okay. So, of course there was a lot of hype with the release of Devin and to be able to build up a lot of marketing traction, right? And it was very interesting, the unique demos that they put out there. But yeah, he's been a genius from, childhood. There was a video that came out that he attended some mathematical competition, and it's just something to wow you. It's kind of like, okay, back then, like, he was somebody to keep an eye on. So I'm really not surprised that he came out with this technology, which is great. But a lot of times with AI, a lot of businesses say, oh, it's not meant to replace jobs. It's really meant to enhance and to just make it easier. But the reality of it is, you're not spending, thousands and thousands of dollars utilizing this technology, businesses using this technology, and thinking that this is not going to impact the human, the labor force that you have within your business, right? So, that's where, again, me, where I'm like, the devil's advocate on these different tools, where, yes, it is amazing, right? I mean, I definitely think that for a smaller individual really looking to, you know, have a hands-on approach with this technology and be able to delve into these different aspects of AI, great, right? But then I guess I kind of think about it more on the large scale of, how many people that are in engineering and this profession that's going to be impacted, right? With every new technological advancement, there is going to be some impacts that it's going to have in terms of the labor force, right?
Absolutely. And with our client base being IT consultants, this is the one time I'm going to side with you, Rachel, as
Oh, what?
as
No, I never
Say,
thought this day would come.
and
Come on to
I'm
my side, Andrew.
so I'm not saying I don't like the technology, but I think that the pace at which AI is going to be replacing jobs is at a much faster pace than I really anticipated and predicted.
Expected. Hmm.
Because I think
Hmm.
that this, with the use case of being able to demonstrate that you could put this up on Upwork and you could generate income
Yeah.
using this, that is going to replace a number of people who are using Upwork as a side
Yeah.
gig. And I think anyone who has been, I was like, for a long time, I was like, my kids need to learn coding. My kids learning, I had them in coding programs when they were young and trying to learn. And now I'm
Hmm.
realizing like that skill isn't necessarily going to be an
Absolute.
important, it's going to be
Yeah.
obsolete.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think knowing and understanding how to use technology will never be obsolete because it's going to be pulling
Hmm.
together different AIs and,
Hmm.
the way we use technology will evolve. And, we've actually seen this, in North America and the developed world. We've been seeing offshoring as being the thing that was taking away jobs. And so what
Jobs. Yeah.
happened with, our client base who are IT consultants, we know they didn't just go unemployed. They moved up the ladder and became project managers, and
Hmm.
they had to develop a different skill other than coding and developing, right? Unless they're,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that's not to mention there's also still, legacy systems that potentially these
Exist.
softwares
Yeah.
won't be coding for. Or who knows? Maybe they will. It's just a matter of time. But it is really interesting to me to see the pace at which we're seeing the AI evolve from the
Hmm.
early days just a year ago. When Kasim, I had the same experience as you, trying to build a little a chat bot back in the day, which now they're, you just download a chat bot. But I was trying to build a chat bot in those first days using chat GPT to do it. And yes, it built something, but it was garbage and it was difficult. And if I didn't know anything about coding, I really wouldn't have been able to work through and
Hmm.
troubleshoot, debug,
Hmm. Hmm.
and get
Hmm.
to a useful product. And now to be able to have basically text generated code based off
Yep.
of, hey, this is what I'm looking for. So what we're going to see is what's going to become really important is the ability to translate to the AIs, right? Like, how
Hmm.
do we explain in common language exactly what we're looking for? And again, having been on the development side, years ago, where we had a team of developers, and we were trying to build a product, and realizing that there's a big difference between what's in my head and when I say I need it to do this, that, and the other, not realizing that in my mind, I knew if you did this, that, and the other, that you would also have to do, A, B, and C. But to the people who are building it, they don't know about A, B, and C, just like the AI isn't going to. So the skill is going to become in your ability to be able to express, written language and being able to communicate are going to become imperative skills, and how well you're able to communicate to these AIs exactly what you're looking for. Because if you think, even though you might be able to get some code out of one sentence, you're not going to get by any means a finished product out of one sentence. So how can we now go from, having to manually code to being able to just articulate our vision in a way that the AI understands? And that's going to be an interesting transition. And the one thing, I fear for the coders out there who are maybe doing side hustles on Upwork, as well as, maybe even their full-time jobs.
Yeah.
What I'm excited for are the small business owners and the evolution of what we're going to see in technology, because we're going to see that it's not going to be a straight line growth. It's going to be hockey stick growth in the evolution of technology, because now people who actually had great ideas but no ability to implement that, whether it was lack of budget or lack of ability, will now be able to have that. And even if they're not reaching out and touching with Devin today, in 6 months to a year, they will be. And so what we're going to see is a rapid evolution and deployment of all sorts of new ideas and new technology, which I think is going to be amazing for small businesses.
Well, the other thing too, Andrew, I think everybody's competing with each other, right? So everybody wants to be on top when it comes to, AI technology and all these different things. So it's almost like these businesses are at a rat race to see who's going to be the real pioneer with this. I mean, when we think about, in the terms of this being a, software engineer, I am sure there were other smaller companies out there which did introduce. They say they are the first in this AI software, but are they really the first? I'm sure there were other companies that kind of started something along the way, and fortunately for them, I guess, they are on top when it comes to this right now.
Yeah, and this is one very specific avenue, obviously, right? Is the software development, and there have been other people who have had some really interesting. Like, I was pretty impressed by Microsoft's agents because of its ability to have an engineer and a debugger and have them have conversations, which to me was a step. But again, the level of technological skill that you needed to deploy Microsoft agents compared to what you need to deploy Devin, is it lowering that bar and making it far more accessible to the average human being?
For sure. And I'm not too scared for the coders out there, because with LLMs and with any other AI model that we see out there, they're trained on existing data, right? So they're trained on data which is created by humans. So yes, while Devin can generate code and write programs which have already been written by other human beings, it cannot come up with something out of thin air. Like, it cannot do something which hasn't been done before, so to speak. So I think there'll definitely be that room for human involvement to progress and use to come up with new and better and cooler things.
And I'd love to hear from those people who are listening, who are software engineers, whether they fear Devin and they are concerned about it. So if you're out there and you're a software engineer, we'd love to hear your feedback. And in the meantime, we've got a question from Iman, who wants to know how small businesses can actually leverage the tool Devin to streamline software development tasks. So, Kasim, you want to take that one?
For sure. There's like tons of things you can do, and the number one thing which in now's day and age a small business owner needs is a nice and optimized website, right? Which you can pay thousands of dollars to get a developer, or you can maybe go to Upwork and get a developer to do that over there. But now essentially you can just feed your brand vision, your design colors, your whatever it is that you want to feed to Devin, and it can come up with a nice, fully optimized website, which represents you, which represents your company, and that back and forth that you had to between sending over your instructions and getting the product and then making revisions, and then and then maybe being happy with it but not too being too happy with it. That can all be bridged now. That's the first and most important thing that I can think of. One other use case, which is not like specific to Devin, but it's more like an overall, I guess you could say, the coding capabilities of these models, is that one real life example which I can give you guys. So Rachel asked me a few days ago to pull a list of some people of some of our attendees on one of our past podcasts, right? So this is something which I found a way to do it. I could get the list, but then when I pasted it on Excel, the formatting got all messed up, right?
Right.
And I'm not an Excel expert. I mean, yes, I can copy paste, use basic formulas. So I wanted to like come up with a formula to make sure all the formatting was right, using a delimiter, break it down into rows, columns, and stuff like that. And I just used GPT-4. It wrote a formula for
Nice.
me, pasted it into Excel, and boom, it fixed it for me. So I think these small things, they go a long way, right, when it comes to these
And
AI
I
models.
thought I was so impressed at everything that you did from scratch. And I was like, he is a genius. And now I know the truth. But here's the thing, the reality of it, to be able to get to execute something and have a mastered product at the end, you still have to have a certain skill level from the person
Sure.
who's working at it. So yes, Kasim, you were important to be able to get that done.
It's AI and IQ. We'll come back to that over and over again.
Yeah.
A combination of the two. And I couldn't agree with you more. Like websites is a great place to start. That you'd be amazed. I mean, there's Intuit, who I'm a big fan of, do a lot of work with. They always release stats, and it's amazing to me how many accountants don't actually have a website, right? And
Scary.
now there's really no reason for anybody not to have a website. Now, how
Hmm.
important those websites will become over the future as people are using new ways to search, like ChatGPT instead of Google.
Hmm.
How will that change? I don't know. But
Hmm.
at least now it's not something that should be, an obstacle for any small business owner to have set up quickly and easily. So it is.
Hmm.
I mean, I think it's amazing, and it's going to be impressive for small business owners, and things like even taking those Excel worksheets with so many small business owners have, and being able to turn them into a calculator on your website or a useful tool or a lead magnet is a great way to leverage this technology.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
Now, with that, we do thank you, Jason, for sharing your feedback. So he does fear Devin because the technology will always advance in due time,
Yeah.
and even though it can't really create anything out of thin air, in the future it might become a possibility. And
Very
that's
true. Yeah.
that's a very good
Give
point.
it time. Give it time. It will get there.
Well, and
I was
also,
watching an interview of OpenAI engineers, and they said exactly what Jason said, that in the future, it's possible that we can just get AI to come up with stuff which hasn't been, thought of before, which is
well,
really interesting. Yeah.
I saw that exact point, and they basically said these AI models require data to learn, and once it's chewed up all the data that's publicly available, there's a very real concern that it will begin generating its own data to use to curate, and that's where it becomes this AGI, and it's out on its own, and whether it's going to be taking over the world and it's going to be doing positive things, who knows? But that is a very real concern, and the hard part and the fearful part for a lot of people is that there is no crystal ball of knowing exactly where it's going to go.
Yeah.
I didn't predict it was going to be here, a year ago, and yet it is, and it's evolving at amazing speeds. But I'm still excited. My fear level is ratcheted up at least a notch, Rachel, to side with you. But I'm not completely. I'm not afraid enough to stop experimenting and playing, and that's despite the other negative stuff that's come out, which is the whole Gemini debacle that has come out. And I know, Rachel, you had a very interesting perspective, especially about the fried chicken thing. And for those of you who aren't aware of what the Google Gemini debacle is it's the bias that has been built into to Google Gemini. and that it has an inherent bias to generate people of
Mm-hmm.
color. And in fact, one person could only get it to generate white people by asking it to generate a picture of people eating fried chicken. And
Mm-hmm.
Rachel took quite exception to that.
Mm-mm.
I think you referred
Very much
to it as
so.
cultural
Very.
appropriation.
I am insulted.
Yeah.
Okay, fried chicken, like that is a my people thing. Okay,
I
I
love fried
I
chicken
found
too.
it
We can all like
this,
fried chicken, but
but
the
it's just I'm just wondering, like, how is this even possible? Like, how is it that you type that and that's the only way to be able to get a Caucasian individual? First of all, I don't even understand the rationale behind the fact that there's even an issue pertaining to the ethnicity of different individuals that you can, you can access. I'm baffled at how this became a thing,
it's
right? I'm also,
overcompensation. It's overcompensation is what it is. And what you have
yep.
is you have AI oversight committees who are trying to keep it balanced. But they're introducing their own biases into it. Even and I mean it's
Agreed.
not only on skin tones, it's also around political bias. There was one
Hmm.
Yep.
person who went through the entire U.S. Senate and said, "I'd like you to generate, a 500 word paragraph article using this person's voice," and they went
Hmm.
down the entire Senate. And basically, for anyone, from the conservative side, it said, no, we can't do that for various reasons. But anything from the liberal side, it was able to generate it. And
Hmm.
again,
Hmm.
this is coming down to the biases that are being introduced by these AI oversight committees. And what you've also got to understand is that when these oversight committee people are meeting and planning and figuring out how they're going to do it, you've got the inherent biases within the organizations where people are afraid to step up and say, hey, wait a minute, this is showing too many black people or too many people of color. Like I
Hmm.
can tell you now, that's going to be very difficult for a white non-person of color to step up and raise their hand and say, I think we have an issue here. There's not enough
Hmm.
white people.
Hmm.
And yet, so you've got these biases that are
Yep.
sort of multiplying themselves, and then the AI is taking that bias and running with it. It was, I'm sure,
Hmm.
done with the best of intentions, but that doesn't mean it's a good outcome, right? And
Hmm.
this
Yep.
is this could result in Sundar Pichai's leaving the organization, right? I mean,
Yep.
because
Yep.
I mean, we were talking about this earlier, and we really are disappointed in what Google has been able to do in the AI front, from every aspect of it, from releases where it turns out it's completely staged, to
Hmm.
being completely left behind by OpenAI, to now
Yep.
these inherent biases. And I think why everyone was so disappointed is because we had such high expectations for Google, right? We were sitting there going,
Yeah.
I asked the question, why don't we have that same expectation of Apple, who
Hmm.
came out with Siri first, or Amazon, who had Alexa? Why don't we have
Hmm.
these same expectations? And I
Hmm.
don't want to put words in your mouth, so I'll maybe let you guys give your take on that. But it was,
Hmm.
I think I took from it, it was basically like, well, they weren't the ones stepping up there going, we're gonna take on machine learning. We're gonna be the leaders of the
Or we're
forefront,
the
where
pioneers.
Google
Yeah.
was,
For
and
sure.
Hmm.
Google
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Definitely.
Google has always been, a pioneer in these, and when it comes to technology and advancements. And yes, I think maybe, I mean, I don't want to say it, but we've seen history in the past where there are a lot of giants in certain industries, and then afterwards they just fall by the wayside because they're not realizing you need to ramp up the technology. Case in point, remember Blockbuster was a big thing. Netflix came in and just kind of swooped in, and so Google has been a giant, and I don't know if they maybe think, okay, we're always going to remain on that level and the platform, but other businesses are coming in, and it's and it's funny you're talking about you're disappointed in what they've done. I think for me it's more of lack thereof, what you have not done, right? In terms of really being able to keep up with so many smaller companies that are now coming in and then just dominating AI. It's just, who would have ever thought? Like,
Mhm.
somebody's sleeping at Google.
Yeah, somebody's
For sure.
sleeping for sure. And in fact, like, my financial coach, Bob Novoselic, who many of our clients know, always steered me away from tech stocks for this exact reason, is because you
Really?
can have this. Yeah, Bob is an anti-tech stock, and in fact, the only tech
Wow.
stocks I really own are into it, just because I'm so heavily involved. I can see. I'm like,
Right,
sorry,
right.
Bob, I'm jumping on this one. But he, is a big advocate for me not to invest in tech stocks, because that you might have the
Interesting.
best product today, but you could have Rabbit R1 come in and take over the entire phone market overnight, and you could be completely leapfrogged by new technology, and you never know when that's going to happen.
Interesting.
So you might have this technology company that you think is a great investment,
Mhm.
like Apple, and then next thing you know, there's anti-competition lawsuits and
Mhm.
all sorts of
Mhm.
other things going on. But I guess we should digress and maybe ask the questions that are coming out from the audience.
Yeah.
Again, Mom wants to know, what do we think these implications are in these AI biases for businesses who are relying on these technologies?
Oof.
And is there a way to overcome them? That's a difficult question.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. I don't know how you can overcome them. Like it's just
I mean,
that's a hard
I would
one.
start this by saying, for small businesses who are trying to get started with AI, and people like us who are, getting ideas for content marketing, making our lives easier by getting Excel formulas coded, stuff like that, or even basic data analysis tasks. I don't think bias will be a problem in those, right? I mean, it's just simple coding related tasks, which
Mhm.
don't
True.
discourage any small business owner from start incorporating AI into their practices. But when it comes to these bigger scale issues, I guess you could say, in terms of maybe targeting certain people for your services, and AI says that no, I cannot target only these people for your services. I need to be more
Mhm.
inclusive. And you can be like,
Mhm.
okay, but my business is only for this,
Mm.
right? It's
Good
segmentation,
point.
basic business 101. So, and I don't know how that's going to be overcome. I'm hoping that people like, Sam Altman or these bigger companies, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, they'll figure out a solution to this. But I
Mhm.
guess at the end of the day, it boils down to us as the consumers, who have to be
Mm.
very careful and cognizant about these biases while we're
Yeah.
using AI
Yeah.
models.
Yeah.
But here's the
And,
thing, politics should not be involved in these things. Like it really shouldn't. Like
but they
I
will
mean,
be.
I've been reading on the news, a lot of speculation of how AI is what role they're gonna play in the next US election, right? Like
Yeah.
politics just should not. This is business. And this is like the government and the political, inclusion that should not be there, right?
I couldn't agree with you more, but it is there. It's going to be in there.
I know.
And I think the from my perspective, the best way to handle it is, again, AI and IQ, right? Like, if we shouldn't be pumping out anything that it gives us, we should be critically analyzing what's coming back, using our own voice to overlay on top of the AI. Like,
Yep.
when you get the response, you need to analyze it, you need to look at it. And I think one of the other things that you can do is cross-validate across multiple platforms, right? Because
Mm.
I actually kind of think
Interesting.
what we're going to see, probably in the long run, this is my prediction now, is we're going to see inherently biased AIs, and we're going to get to the point where we have these different personalities, where we have Claude and we have uh, AI, and we have Devin, and who all these different voices that will be AIs with their own personalities, their own biases. And you can use them to balance each other out. And you can sort of think about it like newspapers, right? Newspapers have had inherent political biases as
That is
our
true.
entire
That
lives,
is true.
but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
always had a liberal paper and a conservative paper.
So
And the
you knew,
truly
yeah.
smart people were reading both and making informed decisions,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
that's where I think that we have to go in the future of AI, is look at it as our new form of media, which it is, and understanding that media has always and will always have political biases.
True, true.
Hopefully, what will be clear is we know what biases which medias are, and
Hmm.
that we can know that when we go into this, oh, I understand that
Yep.
Google is going to have a left-leaning bias, so that I can understand and interpret. Doesn't mean I don't absorb, I don't use, I don't leverage
Hmm.
that AI. It just means I have to know, with the IQ side of the
Yeah.
AI and IQ equation, what biases this AI comes with. And I think the problem we have right now is it's not really clear what the biases are. So I'd
Yeah.
love to see people working And I know that like this is what people do. We are investigators, we are sleuths. We will determine, and they have with Google, obviously, but that needs to be, you know, front and center, and that should be the job of those internet sleuths out there right now. Is like, let's make it clear what those biases are, so that we can leverage these technologies with, you know, an informed perspective.
For sure.
For sure.
So we got another question before we move off of the AI Google Gemini debacle. Is in light of reports suggesting Sundar Pichai's potential resignation due to competitors' advancements in AI, how does Google intend to navigate this challenge and maintain its leadership position in the field? Well, now that
I'll tell
works
you.
for Google.
No, I'll tell you how. Wake up, Google. Wake up. Like whoever is sleeping, wake up. Okay,
Yeah.
start getting some coffee machines in that office and wake up. Smell the coffee. Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
guess-
I think they're gonna have to have like a swoop and just, I don't know, revamp everything. You know, something's got to give. It can't stay as it is and expect, you know, anything but what we've received.
Now, I have a question for you, Rachel, as a self-appointed Android enthusiast.
Yes, tell me.
Would knowing that this inherent bias is built into your phone now, would it change your perspective on using their technology?
No, I'm Android for life.
Pretty simple,
I am-
straightforward. Yes.
I am Android for life.
Android for life.
You know, I mean, okay, let's really think about it. I mean, will that really change? I'll be very frank with you. No, it wouldn't. It really wouldn't at all.
Is there any inherent level of bias that would change that perspective from you?
No, and I mean, I guess it's kind of like what you said.
What
You know, the
if
bias
it
is
were
going
the
to be
opposite
there.
side of the spectrum and it was very conservative, like, you know, racist undertones? Would that change your perspective?
I think we lost.
Am I gone?
No, I can hear you. I think it's probably a Rachel.
Rachel. I
thing.
think we lost Rachel. I think she's just standing there like this. She's like, awkward of a question. I'm not answering. So maybe we should bring it back to more positive note and talk about Sora, which has been another big big release, you know, since we last chat, and something that's really exciting for us. Again, you know, we've been using AI video generation tools and AI editing tools for a long time. Anyone who followed my trip down to Curacao may not know this, but that was all AI, not generated, but AI edited content. And we got Rachel back. She had to bounce.
I am so sorry. And there I was saying, oh, Andrew and his internet. Meanwhile, it was me.
Karma. It's karma.
I know it's karma. Eventually was going to happen to me. So, yes, I did miss your question, though, Andrew.
It was just, I said, is there any level of bias, maybe going the opposite side of the political spectrum to something far more conservative, maybe far more, maybe even potentially racist, which I guess maybe this is arguably in its own form racist, but maybe, you know, racist in the opposite direction, xenophobic. Would that be anything that would make you change your perspective?
I mean, it would. It would. As to, oh, that's a hard one. Oh, that's a hard one. Oh, Andrew.
Yeah, that's why I was like, she's just standing there like this.
I know. I'm just like, okay, I'm exiting this chat, this question. I will not be answering that.
And you don't need to answer it. I mean, especially as, you know.
I mean, okay, here's the reality. I'll be very frank with you. I'm being very honest with you. I mean, my first thought would be no. I mean, as you can tell, like, I'm a person that, here's the thing. There's a lot of great technology and all of these things that are out there. I'm not always the first person to jump on something. I like to know the behind the scenes, behind the story, you know, what are the limitation, you know, those things that people are not thinking about because they're all excited over what's hot, what's new. But I like to know what's lurking behind, you know, what are the future potential issues that, you know, we're not seeing, we're not paying attention. And I think as well, also with a lot of the technology, you know, they put it out there and they wait for feedback. They wait for different things to adjust, to fix, to modify. They never just present something that's 100%, perfect, right?
Mhm.
So, as a result, I mean, I'm not really big on just because something is new and think that this is going to stay as it is. Um, so, I mean, essentially, I would say no, it wouldn't really change. I wouldn't really let that impact me per se. Because here's the thing, and the other thing, Andrew, to be honest with you, it's like the expression with like your cell phone provider, Bell or Rogers, pick one. It's all the same, right?
Yeah,
It's kind of
all
like
bad.
it's pick one of the lesser evils. Unfortunately, when it comes to technology, as much as I'm very much um, you know, very concerned about the negative impacts, if I am not jumping on with this technology, I am going to be left behind, right?
Yeah,
So I have to think about it from my end that, it's like I may not be all crazy about it, but I'm also realizing that if I don't start getting on top of this and knowing these tools and educating myself and dabbling into, then I'm going to become obsolete, right? Because then I have no knowledge of this. So it's a certain thing that, we cannot escape. It's happening. We all have to embrace it to some extent, be aware of these different tools and what's out there, because if not, we're going to be left behind, or I will be left behind, right? So,
absolutely.
but I'm just very skeptical with things. That's all. It's not that I'm saying I will never embrace these, but I like to
We
think,
just have to
you
drag you
know
along kicking and screaming. That's all.
and then occasionally I pull you on my side and then you go back.
Well, and this is the balance of life, right? We have to have both perspectives out there, whether
Yeah,
it be
yeah,
political, technology, anything. This is how we
right,
as individuals grow, is by sitting down and listening to people from who have an opposite
for
perspective,
sure.
hearing their point of view, understanding their point of view,
Hmm.
and bringing that into our own perspective so that we can
Hmm.
evolve as human beings, right?
The only
Uh,
thing though, Andrew, if they type in person with watermelon,
what do they
and
get? Yeah.
if I am not in favor of the response,
It's gonna be a
then
problem.
Then we got a problem.
then
So,
we got a problem. I
and
will
I'd love
accept
to
the
hear
fried chicken.
the people listening. Are you concerned about these biases that have been plaguing Google? What's your perspective? What are your thoughts on solutions? We'd love to hear from you. Well, we dive into, again, we sort of, while we lost you, dove in a little bit into Sora, and we were talking
Mm,
about how excited we are about that, and
yeah, it is actually.
particularly,
That one is excited, I will
yeah.
admit.
And because we obviously do a fair bit of social media generation, where
Yep.
we've been using a lot of different tools, which maybe we'll talk
Hmm.
about some of those different tools. So but Rachel, what's your perspective on Sora? Because it is pretty cool, on what you can do with it. Again, the fears here are demos versus reality.
Yep.
Again, which is what
Yes.
I've always
Yes.
said.
Yeah.
I'm very pessimistic, thanks to Google, and their launch, which was clearly faked. And I
Yes.
have not played with Sora yet, so I can't
Hmm.
say that
Hmm.
You
I,
can play with it. It's not available
yeah,
to public.
It's not available. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
So,
here's the thing. I think it's interesting. I did watch a couple of the different demos, and it's like I was watching this video where they're trying to tell you how you can spot the differences, right?
mhm,
Now, yes, I agree. It will be great for filmmaking, animation, and all these different things, right? But yeah, it's like I don't know if you guys saw the demo video of a grandmother, and she's stirring, she's
One,
cooking, and all of a sudden a spoon shows up. It's like, where was the spoon? There was no spoon in your hand. Now there's a spoon, right? And then a cat, and the cat has, in the front three paws, right? So you can see, or even I'm not sure if you guys saw the one of, I think it was in Italy, and they're like, oh, this is beautiful. It's a drone shot, and when you look at it, it's like, no, it's not. Like, so you can tell the differences. Now I don't know how important it's going to be that there's just disclosure. I know they did say that. I think they're gonna be some companies that are gonna be able to spot how you can tell if it's real videos or if it's AI generated. Again, I don't know what the real importance of that is, but the downside part of it, as much as I'm impressed, the animation, all these things, it looks great. They did say that at least give or take 20% of filmmakers and individuals in the animation industry is going to be impacted and going to be replaced with this technology. So that is quite significant, and they were saying that 20% impact is going to be like in a matter of 1 to 2 years. So that's really quick. And then you have to talk about the certain likeness of people. So that's the other issue, right? where it's like, if videos are coming out, are you allowed to have a certain bit of likeness? And from the data that it is pulling, it's pulling data from all over, that's online. So Andrew, if you had, a nice family photo, family video trip somewhere that you posted online, I'm sure it's, scooping up all that data. And so it has the nice parts. It's nice, from the animation, from the filmmaking, and all of those things, which is great. I mean, I think right now the only limitation is you can only do a video for, I think, 60 seconds, is it? So it's relatively
Actually, that's not a
small.
limitation because, I mean, with AI, video generating AI models, the
Mhm.
limitation was 4 to 5 seconds, right? And when you play,
Oh.
yeah, Canva's AI video generation or any other AI video generation tools, the video generation was really bad. It went up to like 4 or 5 seconds. It
Mm.
wasn't really realistic. I mean, with Canva, if you generate a video, most of the times it doesn't even generate a video; it just generates a picture for you, and then
Okay.
the video doesn't seem realistic. But with Sora, I mean, I do agree that there's ways to spot that it is AI
Mhm.
generated with fingers, with hands, and
Mhm.
certain details and stuff. But I did this experiment. I saw the experiment on YouTube where it was like you're actually watching these videos knowing that they are AI generated, right? So
Mhm.
I was with my mom a few days ago, and I did this experiment where I was like, "Hey, mom, do you want to look at this video?" And I
Mhm.
showed her this video of a woman walking in the Tokyo streets at night. That was one of their demos, right? And
Mhm.
I showed it to her, and she was like, "Okay, yeah, it's pretty good, pretty artistic and stuff." And I was like, "Do you notice anything odd
Kick
about it
Kevin.
or whatever?" And she was like, "No." Then I told her it's AI generated, and
Mhm.
that's where it comes in. Where if you're just randomly scrolling on social media, you're
You
not
won't
pixel,
know.
yeah, you're not looking at the hands and stuff, and so
Mhm.
that's really something to be, I guess, not scared about, but we have to keep it in the back of our mind. So we have a question from Jason Shang. Andrew, if you could pull that up. I'm not too knowledgeable about Sora, as I haven't heard about Sora until you guys have mentioned it. Could you guys specifically explain what Sora is? So yeah,
Mhm.
so it's a video generation tool, basically like ChatGPT or Dolly. You type in a prompt, and
Mhm.
based on that prompt, it will generate a video for you. The video can go up to 60 seconds long. It doesn't have an audio yet in the background. It's not available to the public. It's only in sort of like beta testing, and they're giving it to some exclusive people for external feedback and stuff. But yeah, that's what it is at its core. And I think it's so powerful, so interesting, because you see these productions and films with CGI and all these amazing graphics, which studios spend millions of dollars on, so to speak,
Mhm. Yeah.
and
Yes, for sure.
do that with a single prompt. So yeah, I don't know what the future looks like for especially filmmaking when
Yeah.
we talk about
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
I saw some stuff online where they were literally did split screen, two videos, which one is AI, and
Wow.
the captions were able to tell. They couldn't tell which one was AI and which one wasn't, and they were
Wow.
Sora generated videos.
Mhm.
And this is like, it's again that hockey stick growth curve in what we're going to see in as far as advancement in technology. Because, as I said earlier, I've been using AI to do video editing. I use GoPro's Quick app to do all my video editing, which I love because basically I just dump in all my videos that I take on vacation, and then it creates a video out of it, and it does an
Nice.
amazing job. I may pull a video here and there, or reorder it, but it does all that editing for me. And so this AI technology has been out there, but now to the point where it's able to generate a really good, useful video, just
Mhm.
being able to say, I want a shot of a woman walking through the canals in Italy, and with a gondola in the background, it will instantly generate
Yeah.
that. And what
Yeah.
that does for, I mean, what it's going to do to social media, it's going to flood it with hopefully better quality videos, but it's still going to be, again, AI and IQ, right? Because just because you have a video, that doesn't mean that that's engaging. It's going to be, what prompts are you generating it to make it create engaging content? And I
Mhm.
think that's where we're going to obviously see it being played out in the short run, because if we're talking 1 minute long videos,
Mhm.
it's really, I think, been targeted at social media, right? And Reels and Instagram and all that type of stuff, which again, from people who are doing content generation, I look at that as an amazing opportunity for small business owners to make our content far more interesting and engaging.
Definitely.
Now you can have instant B-roll that you combine with real video of yourselves, and how you blend and merge those two together will be interesting. And there's other AI technology that we've been using that we should share with people, because again, like Jason, maybe they're not aware of these tools. I think one of them, if anyone watches our any of our social media channels, you've probably seen that a lot of our video generated is using a tool called Pictory. And Pictory is interesting because, again, you can feed it a script and it will generate a video. Now, it's nowhere near as good as Sora, and it's basically just taking a whole bunch of generic B-roll and putting it together. But it's not bad. I mean, and compared to our ability and speed to be able to roll out and release technology has been, immensely improved because of tools like Pictory.
That is true.
Then you've got Canva, which Kasim, you've talked about. Their video generation is lackluster at best. I played around with it again, and you have to give it some context. You have to give it a couple of images or videos, and then it sort of fills in the frame. I sort of picture it or envision it like stop motion animation, right? Where you take the guys here and the guys there, and then it fills in the motion in between. And that's sort of what Canva's AI does. And then what we're really excited about is the new tool that we've been using to take content from these videos down and have them automatically, using AI, turned into like little shorts that we can use. And that's called Opus, which is an amazing piece of technology. There's Filmora, which is a great video editing. There's CapCut. There's there's so many. Is there any?
So many.
It's a long list of amazing. And again, if you're out there and you guys are using any video editing tools, we'd love to hear from you guys. If you can throw them in the comments, we'd love to hear it. And it looks like we've got some more comments coming through. So the use of let's go to Iman's question, and then we'll go back to Jason's got a couple here. So the use of AI and video editing is evolving. How do you envision this technology changing the way we consume and create content? So as far as create content, I think it's going to hopefully lead to better quality, more engaging content.
It'll enhance it.
It'll enhance it. I mean, it does run the risk of it becoming generic and blob if people don't use it well. But I think that the people who are going to be using it are going to be using it to take what would have been blasé content to make it more engaging. How will it change the way we consume content? I think it's going to just ramp up the level of which people are stuck to their phones.
Yes.
Watching. I mean, and
yes.
It's bad. It's real bad. So I just got back from vacation, and in one of the videos, I see we're on a beach in Curacao, the most crystal clear water you've ever seen in your life. And my daughter's caught with a towel over her head on her phone. I was like probably looking at pictures of beaches. Right?
It's high quality resolution is better.
And I think so we'll be stuck to our phone this time.
The downside.
Exciting because coming back to Jason's question, which I'm really excited about, you can walk into a theater and type in what you want to see in one sentence. I mean, the amount of TV shows and movies that I've seen in which the ending was bad, or there was if only one element which I could fix, or where, there were some things, some storylines which were left unfinished. I mean, that's something which if AI can do, like, for example, in Avengers, Iron Man, spoiler alert if anyone hasn't watched it, Iron Man died.
No!
Close your ears. Don't listen.
Yeah. Exactly. If I could tell AI, here's Avengers, look at it, and then come up with a story where Iron Man comes back to life, that's going to potentially change my mind. Or Game of Thrones, where at the
end... I was about to say that! Game of Thrones, for sure!
Couldn't sleep for a month. I was that upset. Like, they just completely botched the ending. If we could, use this AI technology to, change those elements, I think it's going to be so cool, like so powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just thought of a couple others that we did not mention, which are HeyGen and Synthesia, which are the
Oh yeah,
avatar-based
yeah,
ones,
that's
which,
true. Yeah.
again, they're okay right now. We've played around with them. We've had mixed feedback. I mean, I think most people are most blown away with HeyGen's ability to translate from one language to another. That is probably its most impressive feature. And to be able to have that just auto syncing your mouth and making it look relatively realistic. And you can imagine, again, when we merge these two technologies with Sora generating big explosions in the background and using HeyGen to take your favorite actors and create your own scripts, you really are going to be able to walk into a theater and create your own story, just as Jason says.
Yep.
Yep,
Yep.
for
Yeah,
sure.
we've got
For sure.
some more people to join your side, Rachel.
Yes,
So Amir's
I'm with
greatly more
Amir. Yep.
Dad, guys. Hey, Dad.
Amir. Oh, that's your dad. Dad,
Yeah.
I'm with you on these. I am with you on these deep fakes. I'm with your dad. Yeah, it's scary. It
I mean,
really is. And again, that's what
yeah.
people don't stop and they think about. And it's like, it's like these things petrify me. And because here's the thing, I think about it from, yes, on the largest scale and these fake videos of like politicians and whatever the case is. But then I also start to think about it. Maybe I think too much. I'm too deep about these. I think about even children not knowing, children using this as a way to bully other kids or this, that. Like my mind goes there sometimes where I'm like, it's great, but there is also the potential to use this and be very devastating, and that's what really scares me. And that devastation and that impact it can have on people is going to outweigh, the little excitement that we have that, oh, I can type in something and in 60 seconds I get a 60
Well,
second video, right?
I've got more bad news for you than Rachel. This is probably going to scare the pants off you because it scared me. There's a new website where you can take a
Mm-hmm.
picture and you can load in a picture of you out at a park bench and it will tell you where you're located.
Oh,
Holy cow.
Yeah. It's obviously AI and it's apparently incredibly accurate and very good. Which is why I now have a delay on any
but
of my
why?
content coming out.
Why is this necessary? Why is this even necessary? Tell me, under what circumstance is this technology necessary for
It's again.
anybody to use?
Well,
Well,
have you
Taylor
heard of
Swift's
Jose
Instagram
Monkey? Do you
profile
know?
figure out where she is right now. I
Yeah.
mean,
Have
Wait,
you heard
that
of
kind of
Jose
what?
crazy.
Monkey? Do you know who Jose
No,
Monkey is? So Jose
no.
Monkey is a social media guy who you send him a video and he tells you where you're located, and he does it the old school way by trying to like look it up on Google Earth and triangulate based on
Yeah,
a whole bunch of things. And it's actually really kind
yeah.
of interesting content. And he was one of the first people to talk about this new technology.
Mm-mm.
And the reality is there are practical applications. You can think of missing person cases, and you can think of all sorts of reasons that it could be practical military applications. There are reasons for it, but the problem is that now you have bad actors being able to figure out stalkers, as
Yeah,
Jason jumping in.
Jason,
Yeah,
I'm with Jason and his no, and the stalkers. Jason, you and I think Jason's on my side here, right? Because these are the
Even
scary
without
things. It
AI,
is terrifying.
yeah.
even without AI, like celebrities, I brought up the Taylor Swift example because like it was a news article. Like the celebrities are being harassed
Mm.
right now by
Yeah.
fans, and they don't have AI right now. They're just using these general tools that they have at their disposal. So something like this, I mean, but then you have the applications where if someone is kidnapped, having the law enforcement. I don't know, man. It's a
And
tough
here's the thing.
conversation.
I am not disputing the fact that maybe there are certain components that this has a lot of value for. Okay. But then the next question becomes, does AI need to be easily accessible to everybody? Does everybody need to
But
have
how
access?
do you stop it? There's no way of making it not available. That's the problem is once the genie's out of the bottle, there's no putting it back in. And here's my perspective on it is this is why it's more important than ever before to be at the leading edge and the forefront of this technology is because the only way to protect yourselves is to stay one step ahead of the bad actors, right? So you need to know and understand this technology. So now you can pivot. You can be like, okay, if I'm going to post social content of a vacation, I'm going to wait till I have moved locations or I'm in a different location before I post that, right? Like
You want to know? It just makes me think. So here's the thing. Here's the funny thing about me. Okay,
Mhm.
when I travel, I refuse to put on my locator.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't need to know where I am. Okay, I never post. And you know the funniest thing, I
We can
never
still find out
post.
where you are by your IP address. You know that, right? Every time you log into our system, we know where you are.
Yeah.
Fine, that's not fine. Okay, very limited people know that. Okay, and I don't post anything online. Like I'm just, it's like the funny thing with my, my Instagram. I think the last time I posted a picture was 7 years ago when I created the account. Like I'm just, for me, I just think of it as the loss of privacy. Like not everybody needs to know, not everybody needs to have access to my life. So it's, I know you say, people need to educate themselves, but then the thing about it is there's so much going on. It is going to be so hard for the layman person to know all of these different things that somebody might just be innocently on vacation sharing a photo and just figure, oh, let my friends and family see the photo and
Well,
know where I am, and you don't know
think about our
why.
parents and our children, right? Like we're now ahead of this.
Yeah.
Like from my parents' perspective, they're, my dad's always doing tons of things he shouldn't online, and I'm having to tell him, no, this is, you don't share your address in a Facebook post that you
Kasim is
don't
cracking
share
up here.
and then on my children's perspective, where a lot of young kids, thankfully my kids aren't that big into posting on social, but a lot of kids, they feel like they're supposed to put their entire
Life.
life on social media,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And now we have to take this opportunity to educate ourselves, to educate our children, to educate our parents on how the world has evolved thanks to AI and the things that they need to do to adapt to this new technology.
For sure. And it's like, with technology, I'm a little more optimistic because, when we first had the internet, when we had computers, there was all sorts of ways people could get viruses onto your computer, ransomware,
Mhm.
malware, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then I think one of our guests talked about it in the podcast before. Then you had the antivirus and you were able to overcome it. With, videos as well, and with AI now, this is the new hot news. I think there's going to be technology to overcome that. I mean, there's like with every invention, with every technological advancements, there's going to be some good things and there's going to be some bad
And some
things.
bad.
And yeah, and I'm hoping what we can do and what these big companies, because when I was looking at one of the interviews of Sora engineers, they were talking about, adding in some metadata into videos to make sure that I was flagged by AI, because just adding in a watermark isn't enough. You can crop it out, right? So
There's AI
hopefully
technology to remove those watermarks.
yeah, exactly. Or you don't even need AI. You can just crop the video and boom, it's
Yeah.
gone. So hopefully we'll have some of the other technologies to circumvent those bad things. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and we sort of have to, be cautious about it, keep up with it, stay informed, and most importantly, stay safe when you're out there, regardless of whether AI is fully developed right now or not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And now, I mean, the other part, like we've only got a minute left to go here, 2 minutes left to go here. We didn't even touch base on the new robotics, OpenAI and Moxie, which is all over the internet. Imagine when bad
Okay,
actors are leveraging AI in robotics. That becomes some Terminator level shit.
yeah.
Yeah,
Did I not say that on one of our first podcasts where I was like,
you did.
Sarah Connor was right all along? We were not listening.
Oh, it's and I don't know. Do you guys, should we save the robotics for another episode? I
Let's
guess.
save it. There's too much to
For
dive
sure.
into. I
There's
have some
too much.
opinions on that one.
Yeah. There was another question from Jose. Maybe this will be the last question. Was what measures is OpenAI implementing to address concerns about the ethical use of Sora AI in filmmaking, particularly issues as copyright infringement, misinformation, and cultural sensitivity?
I'll tell you what measures they are. I'll tell you what
Let's
measures
hear
they are.
them.
Before they were really open about what data they used, so people
Hmm.
started suing them, right? Now what they've done is they've just stopped talking about what data they're using to
I
train
saw
their
an
models.
interview with their CDO.
That's
Where she was like, they asked her
Right.
and she wouldn't answer. She's like, I don't know. And everyone's like, how do you not know the answer on how you're
CTO, yeah.
Yeah.
wow.
I
Yeah.
mean,
So they're
that's
addressing it by just avoiding it.
Mhm.
yeah, literally that's what they're doing. I mean, Mira Murari, the CTO of the billion-dollar AI company, and she doesn't know what data they're using to train Sora. And I've seen this like in other interviews of their developers as well. So I mean, it is what it is. They're pretty much using everything on available online.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah. They're scrapping
ours
all
is
our info, yeah, and it's
She's
using
like,
it.
I don't know, but Facebook uses anything publicly available, like throwing other people under the bus. It
yeah.
was bad. But believe it or not, guys, we are at time. This has been a great episode. So much to talk about over the last what's gone on over the last 2 weeks. For all the people listening, and Jason, for all your comments, thank you for tuning in. And we'll be back next week with another fun episode. And we'd love to hear your feedback and your comments and what we could do to make this show even better. So please share with us and join us again next week at the same bat time, same bat channel. Bye for now, everybody.